I'm Alex, and this is my story, one I wish I could erase from memory. It started the day we rented the upstairs portion of our house to a man named Eric. At first glance, he seemed polite, soft-spoken, careful with his words. But something about him was off. His eyes never sat still. They darted around, like he was always searching for something only he could see. He said he worked in IT, but his schedule made no sense. He'd leave before dawn, return well past midnight, always restless. And though he claimed to be married, he lived there alone, at least for the first week. Then, his wife moved in. And that's when the nightmare really began. At night, we'd hear thuds, glass breaking, furniture scraping across the floor, and sometimes her screams. My mother finally worked up the courage to confront them. When the door opened, Eric's wife stood there. Her arms and face were covered in bruises. She didn't speak. She didn't need to.
A few days later, she came to us crying, and what she told us chills me to this day. Eric wasn't just abusive, he was cruel. He beat her for fun, starved her, locked her inside, smashed her phone so she couldn't call for help. That same evening, her family showed up. Not the police, not neighbors, family, wealthy, powerful, arriving in black SUVs. No words, no noise. They simply took her away. When Eric returned and found her gone, he snapped. And then he vanished into the night. Days later, news spread. Eric was dead. Suicide. We thought it was over, but it wasn't. Not even close. Soon after, strange things began happening upstairs, even though we had sealed it off. Knocks in the middle of the night, cold spots in the hallway, shadows that wouldn't leave the corner of my eye. Some nights I'd wake up paralyzed, a crushing weight pressing on my chest, whispers curling through the dark. One night, as I was gaming with friends, they heard it too, through my mic. Knocking, scraping, and heavy breathing. Then, at exactly 3 a.m., a scream ripped through my headset. But it wasn't me. It wasn't anyone alive. It didn't just happen once. It happened 3 times. And my mother confirmed she heard it too.
From there, everything spiraled. I woke up with scratches carved across my back. The presence grew bolder, darker. My parents eventually called a priest. He performed rituals, burned herbs, placed charms around the house. For a while, it eased. But before leaving, he gave us a warning.
Heed my warning. This house is not safe. Evil resides within these walls.
And later, I found out why. Eric hadn't just died bitter. Before his suicide, he went to a witch,
begged her to curse his wife and her family, offered his soul in return. But the witch twisted the deal. She shaped him into something else, something violent, then sold her services back to the wealthy family, charging them to banish him over and over again. But Eric grew stronger. He stopped listening to her commands.
And when she tried to contain him, she vanished. No body, no answers. Months later, when the police combed through Eric's phone, they uncovered something even worse. He wasn't just an abuser. He had ties to mafia groups. Violence followed him long before any haunting began. Which leads the question, who was really in control? Was the witch using Eric? Or was she just another pawn in his game? All I know is this: some nights, even now, I still hear that knocking upstairs. And when I do, I can't help but wonder, is Eric's spirit still out there, waiting for revenge? What happened to the witch? Or if Eric's spirit is still haunting?
Guys, sorry for the interruption. Just need 30 sec of yours. If you also came across any such witch, please do comment below and share your experience. Now, back to Alex.
Just a small recap of what happened when Eric came into our lives. The bruises on his wife, his suicide, the knocking that started after, and the priest who warned us this spirit is only blocked, not gone. I wish he'd been wrong, but he wasn't, because what came next was far worse. It started just a few nights later. I woke at exactly 3:03 a.m. Not to noise, but to silence. The kind of silence so heavy it presses against your ears. My breath fogged in the air. The whole room felt like a freezer. I sat up, fighting panic. That's when I saw it. On the balcony above, a shadow, taller than any man I'd ever seen. Its head tilted at a strange, broken angle, like it was studying me, watching. I couldn't move. My body refused. And then it turned, not away, toward my door. Slow, heavy footsteps creaked down the stairs. 1, 2, 3. Each step vibrating through the walls until it stopped at my door.
The doorknob began to rattle. My chest locked tight. I thought I was going to black out. And then, silence. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. The next morning, something confirmed what I'd seen. The protective charms the priest had tied above every door, every window, turned to ash overnight. All of them. That's when we knew whatever was inside the house had grown stronger. A week later, I learned why. Eric hadn't just died angry. He had planned this.
Before his suicide, he went to a woman whispered about in hushed circles. a witch. Not the fairy tale kind. This was someone who lived in the shadows of the city, offering curses, rituals, services to the desperate and the vengeful. Eric was desperate, and he begged her for power, to curse his wife, to curse her family, to make sure even in death they could never escape him. She agreed, but she did more than he asked.
Her ritual twisted Eric into something else. A spirit bound to fury. But instead of destroying him afterwards, she used him. She would unleash him on the wealthy family. Fires, accidents, sickness, hallucinations. She'd let the torment grow and then banish him, pretending to save them, collecting money every time.
She thought she was clever, but she underestimated him. Because Eric's rage couldn't be contained, every ritual only made him stronger. And soon, he stopped listening to her commands. The haunting spread beyond her control. Shadows in mirrors, hands clawing from the dark, a voice whispering in the daughter's ear at night. The witch tried to fight him, but he resisted everything. And then, one night, he turned on her. No one knows what really happened. The witch disappeared. No screams, no body, no trace. Just gone. But what she left behind was worse, because without her control, Eric was free. And he remembered us, the family who had confronted him, the house where he had lived, and me.
The hauntings became unbearable, doors slamming on their own, cracks forming in the walls. At night, I'd wake with the sense of someone crouched beside my bed, breathing, waiting, and the dreams. I'd see Eric, his face twisted, black veins crawling over his skin, his voice cutting through the dark. This is just practice. That's when it clicked. The priest hadn't banished him. The witch hadn't contained him. Eric wasn't finished. He was preparing. And I was just the warm-up. The real target was still his wife. Later, I heard rumors. Her family was suffering again. Strange fires, sudden illnesses, near-fatal accidents. They hired another witch to fight back. But she told them something even more terrifying. Eric wasn't just a ghost anymore. He was evolving, changing into something darker. And if they didn't stop him soon, he wouldn't just haunt them, he would spread.
And here's what keeps me awake at night. Even after the witch vanished, even after the family fled the city, he's still here. Because some nights, just as the clock hits 3 a.m., I hear it. The knocking. Sometimes faint, sometimes so loud it shakes the glass of my window, always above my room. So I have to ask myself, if Eric's true goal is still his wife and her family,
Why is he still here with me?
Guys, sorry for injunction again, but tell me in the comments, who do you think Eric's true goal really is? Is it Alex, his wife, wife's family, or the witch herself? Now, back to Alex.
And if you followed the story, then you already know about Eric. But just a small brush-up. The tenant who became something else? The witch who bound him. And the night she vanished, leaving us at his mercy. I thought that was the end, but I was wrong. Because Eric wasn't finished. Not with me, not with anyone. The first sign came one night when I woke up gasping for air. My chest felt like it was being crushed. I tried to scream, but nothing came out. And then I saw him, his face, inches from mine. Eyes like pits of ash, a mouth stretched open, whispering words I couldn't understand. And suddenly, I wasn't in my room anymore. I was standing in a hallway I'd never seen before, endless, lined with doors. And from behind each one came screams. Human, panicked, terrified. I felt him behind me, pushing me forward. When I jolted awake, I was drenched in sweat. My chest burned like it had been seared with fire. And carved into my skin were marks, symbols, not scratches, not random symbols.
The next morning, my mother found me, pale, shaking. She called a distant relative who knew of another witch. When that witch arrived, she studied the marks and whispered words that froze my blood. He's not just haunting you anymore. He's trying to take you. Possession. From then on, it only got worse. I'd lose hours, black out, wake in places I'd never gone. Once, my parents found me outside the sealed upper portion, my hands bloody, fingernails torn to the bone, as though I had tried to dig through the concrete itself. I was slipping, and Eric was winning. But just when I thought it was hopeless, she came back, the witch, the same one who had vanished. Except this time, she wasn't the same. Her eyes were darker, her voice deeper, as if it carried weight that didn't belong to her alone. And she wasn't alone. She told us she had found another, a figure even older, far more dangerous, a witch whose very name was whispered only in secret. Together, they had returned, not to banish Eric, but to fight him on his own ground.
That night, the ritual began. My parents blindfolded me and led me to an abandoned ritual grounds at the edge of the city. The air there was thick, heavy, charged. Black ash symbols scarred the walls. The witches stood within a circle of fire, chanting words I'd never heard. My body convulsed, my chest burned, and then I heard him, Eric, his voice echoing from inside me.
Defy me,
She
mortal.
thinks she controls me. She thinks she can bind me. But I am not hers anymore. I am mine. The ground shook, flames roared higher, my vision blurred. And then I wasn't in the temple anymore. I was in a void, dark, endless, and Eric was there. Shifting, man, monster, shadow, all at once. Behind him, I saw the witches, their silhouettes battling, sparks of light colliding with streaks of black fire. It wasn't a ritual. It was war. I don't know how long it lasted.
Minutes, hours, days. Time didn't seem to exist there. But then Eric turned to me, his mouth stretched wide, far too wide, and he screamed, "This world isn't enough for me anymore. I will spread. I will consume." And then everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was back inside Ritual Circle at the abandoned ritual grounds, deep forest. The fire circle was gone. The witches were gone. My parents knelt beside me, shaking me awake. They told me I'd been unconscious for 3 days. But when I looked at myself, looked at the broken glass of mirror in my room, I saw it, a shadow, tall, behind me, watching, waiting. Eric's demon monster shadow.
And the witches? They never returned. People say they've stepped into his world instead, chasing him where he's strongest. A battle still raging, far from human eyes. Which leaves me with only one question. If the witches are gone, if Eric is trapped fighting them in another place, then who keeps knocking at my door every night at 3 a.m.?
Guys, for now, the story ends here. Even though Alex still hears it, the knocking, the whispers. Who keeps knocking at his door every night at 3 a.m.? The witches are gone? Or are they? Is Eric really trapped, still fighting somewhere else? Or has something much darker already taken his place? Some doors should never be answered.
But the knocking, the whispers, they haven't stopped. If you want to know what happens next, comment below part 2. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter. Also, leave your thoughts below because sometimes the scariest answers come from you.